safer world is possible, and together we can and will make it happen. Thank you.
When you show up in community, you find that group that makes you feel like home, but oftentimes you also find yourself again.
Hamar is in Wimbledon. Hamar, what do you think?
Well, I think he's left the institution, left the country. So it really doesn't make any difference, his approach of coming across and saying, look, this is me, this is my story, this is what I've had to do. He's left. He's left the institution, he's left the country. The only reason he's doing it is because he has to sell the books to make money. And
technically he doesn't, of course, because the advance would have been immense. I very much doubt, even if it becomes the best-selling book in history, that it will actually move into royalty territory. The advance is already in the bank. If you had enormous issues with people in this country and they had been played out in public and continue to be played out in public, even if you moved to Alpha Centauri, never mind Montecito, even if you died, they would still be writing about the other side of the story, still be portraying you according to their agenda, not your recollections, not your reality. You think if you moved house, suddenly you wouldn't care anymore, or it wouldn't matter to you?
Well, it's my family at the end of the day as well. So it's a combination of whether his relationship with his family.
Exactly. So if you'd been appallingly treated in your own mind by your own family and the whole world was watching, you think that by moving house you'd somehow not care anymore?
But then do you think by voicing it in public...
Well, just tell me first, because you know, we look it through the lens of our own experiences. If you've been appallingly treated by your own family and the whole world was reading their side of the story, you think that if you moved house and left the family business, you wouldn't be upset anymore. That's because that's what you came on and said. I don't know whether you realise that. But
no.
The idea that because he's moved to California and stepped back from formal royal duties, he should somehow not care about getting his side of the story out there, or not care about dealing with his trauma in the public space where he's lived his entire life is, we both know deep down, ridiculous, right?
A warm welcome to Sussexville. I'm your host, Emma. Before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Sussexville for more honest takes and royal news updates. Now, on today's video, we're diving into a powerful moment. James O'Brien claps back at a caller who criticized Prince Harry and Meghan Markle for leaving the UK after what they called an investment. Let's be real. Harry and Meghan were given absolute hell simply for stepping away from an abusive and toxic situation. People seem to forget that the rest of that family continues to receive millions of pounds every year for doing absolutely nothing. They don't support their charities. Some of those charities have even had to close down. Yet critics think Harry and Meghan should have just stayed and put up with it? Please. Meanwhile, these so-called working royals aren't really working. What we're seeing is football, Ascot, and Wimbledon. That's the extent of their royal duties. So, tell me in the comments, do you think Harry and Meghan made the right choice by leaving the UK and building their own lives? James O'Brien claps back at caller criticizing Harry and Meghan. O'Brien's forceful response underscored the hypocrisy and double standards faced by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. He pointed out the immense sums of taxpayer money lavished upon the working royals who do little more than attend sporting events and social functions, while Harry and Meghan's impactful charitable work was dismissed. O'Brien made it clear that the real issue was not the Sussexes' decision to step back, but the public's unwillingness to hold the rest of the royal family accountable for their lack of genuine public service. His impassioned rebuttal highlighted the unfair treatment and biased criticism that Harry and Meghan have endured, simply for prioritizing their mental health and pursuing a more independent path. Caller's criticism of Harry and Meghan. The caller's stance is utterly bewildering. They seem to believe that Harry and Meghan owed the UK some sort of lifelong servitude, simply because of the supposed investment made in them. as if the royal family's wealth and privilege were not built upon the backs of the British people for centuries. The caller's argument that Harry and Meghan should have stayed and put up with crap is not only heartless, but completely misses the point. These two individuals were trapped in an abusive and dangerous situation, and their decision to step away was a brave act of self-preservation. The working royals the caller champions are anything but. They are more concerned with frivolous pastimes than actually supporting the charities and causes they claim to represent. Harry and Meghan's departure was the right choice, no matter how much it may irk those who believe the royal family can do no wrong. The caller's disdain for the so-called working royals was, honestly, just palpable. They accused the royal family of being more interested in leisure activities like football, Ascot, and Wimbledon than in actually fulfilling their duties. According to the caller, these working royals were, in fact, not working at all, and taxpayers were footing the bill for their lavish lifestyle, while the charities they were meant to support were being neglected. The caller's frustration was really evident, as they felt that Harry and Meghan were being unfairly criticized for leaving a situation that was, in their view, abusive and dangerous, while the rest of the royal family continued to enjoy the privileges of their position without putting in the necessary effort. O'Brien passionately defends Harry and Meghan's decision to leave the royal family, calling the situation they faced abusive and dangerous. He argues that the public's criticism of the couple is just misguided, as they were paying millions of pounds a year to a family that was not upholding their duties or supporting their charities. O'Brien points out the hypocrisy in expecting Harry and Meghan to endure such an abusive and dangerous environment, when the working royals themselves are more focused on attending events like football matches, Ascot races, and Wimbledon, than actually working. He firmly stands up for Harry and Meghan's right to remove themselves from a clearly toxic and unsupportive situation. The caller's outrage over Harry and Meghan's departure honestly, completely misses the point. While the royal family may receive millions in taxpayer funds, they provide little in return. Some of the charities they supposedly support have even been forced to shutter due to lack of funding and engagement. It really seems the working royals are anything but, spending more time at sporting events and social functions than actively serving the public. The notion that Harry and Meghan should have endured an abusive and dangerous situation simply because of their royal status is both absurd and disturbing. Taxpayers deserve accountability and real value from the monarchy, not a lavish lifestyle funded by the very people they appear to disdain. The critics claim that Harry and Meghan don't support their charities is simply unfounded. In reality, the Duke and Duchess have been tireless advocates for a wide range of charitable causes, from mental health initiatives to empowering young people. However, it seems their detractors are more interested in perpetuating false narratives than acknowledging the genuine impact of their philanthropic efforts. While the so-called working royals may be content to coast through engagements at sporting events and social gatherings, Harry and Meghan have consistently demonstrated a deeper commitment to making a meaningful difference in the world. The caller's hypocrisy is astounding. They criticize Harry and Meghan for leaving the royal family, yet they conveniently ignore the very real issues and mistreatment the couple faced. It's as if the caller believes Harry and Meghan should have simply endured the abuse and toxicity, regardless of the mental and emotional toll it took on them. What the caller fails to acknowledge is that the working royals are hardly working at all. They're more interested in attending sporting events and social gatherings than actually supporting their charitable causes. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan poured their hearts into their philanthropic endeavors, only to see some of them shuttered due to lack of support from the institution. The caller's selective outrage is nothing more than thinly veiled hypocrisy, unwilling to confront the harsh realities that drove the Duke and Duchess away. The situation that James O'Brien's caller was referring to was clearly an abusive and dangerous one that needed to be addressed. When someone is in an environment that is toxic and harmful, they have every right to remove themselves from that situation, no matter who the perpetrator may be. The fact that the caller seems to believe Harry and Meghan should have simply endured the mistreatment and remained in that unhealthy dynamic shows a concerning lack of empathy and understanding. Abuse, in any form, should never be tolerated or downplayed, regardless of the parties involved. O'Brien was absolutely right to call out the caller's disturbing stance and defend the Sussexes' decision to prioritize their own well-being. O'Brien firmly stands by Harry and Meghan's choice to step back from royal duties and seek a life outside the UK. He contends that the harsh criticism leveled against them is unjustified, given the reality that the so-called working royals are doing little more than attending sporting events and social functions, while contributing minimal actual work. Furthermore, O'Brien points out the hypocrisy of those who condemn Harry and Meghan for leaving when the rest of the royal family continues to receive millions in taxpayer funding for their lavish lifestyles, despite their lack of meaningful public service. For O'Brien, Harry and Meghan's decision was a necessary and reasonable response to an abusive and dangerous situation, and he refuses to join the chorus of those who would deny them the right to live their lives on their own terms.